Greetings and welcome back, Dabblings, to From the Depth and to our Temple Ship's Bridge, which has had a little bit of work done to it. And by a little, I mean quite a lot, or at least it took me a long time. This bridge has gone through several iterations and we haven't even finished the back, though that is largely because we're going to be working on the rear of the ship in this episode. But to give you a quick tour of the bridge before we begin, I have added repair bots, I've added bunches of consoles and chairs and lots of NPCs with a little flag and everything. They actually look remarkably awesome. They look better than I do. Damn it! My officers look better than the captain. Oh, this cannot stand. But we've got lots of different consoles. These are just basic displays. They serve no particular purpose. These actually do the various control blocks: spin block control, regular vehicle control, advanced vehicle control, and weapon control. And, of course, we have the high-backed, kind of throne captain's chair. But generally speaking, the NPCs probably won't do too much unless we get boarded, which isn't likely to happen, but maybe in the future. Now, out front, I've also gone ahead and copied over the other launch pads. Now, initially, I was going to have an idea of having the tractor beams located here and here, but that would possibly cause some issues when it was pulling in a vehicle. Someone did point out in the comments that it would be much better if I had them beneath the helipads pointing straight up, because the safe approach distance then, it would probably pull the vehicle over the top and then pull it down slowly. Rather than, for example, here, pulling it behind the ship and then trying to pull it towards the landing pad and basically through the bridge. That, yeah, wouldn't be good. I've also added a couple of NPCs around the place. We have got our colored AIs in here, as per the comments. We've got a few NPCs here, almost acting as guards, really. The three AIs that I haven't had colors for, or at least if I have, I've missed the comment. I do apologize. If you have already said, then by all means, call me a derp and post it again or email me. But we need Mega Scoutlet's color, Funny Man's color, and of course Dr. Moriarty's color. In here we have a few NPCs, not many, just 4 basically. Oh, actually no, I think 6. These 2 as guards over here, and generally that's it for our AIs. But in this episode, we're going to be working on the rear of the ship a little bit more. And I've got some pretty big plans for this one, so hopefully they'll work out. Now, first and foremost, let's use caps lock to pull the whole ship out of the water. And unfortunately, as much as it is going to pain me, and it really will, we need to get rid of all of this. Did I mess that up? Oh, I must have messed that up. Clearly, I am meant to be adding some more in here. Let me quickly edit this. We need some more blocks. So, regular metal blocks, please. There we go. Ah, yes. I increased the amount of missiles in these missile batteries, which is why that messed up a little bit. I'll quickly show you. So we want to go to the next spinner, which should be this one, I imagine. There we go. And here we are. Just fill that out so it looks all nice and tidy. Shiny and chrome, one might say. There we go. Right. Well, I can very quickly give you a look-see at what it is now. I've also isolated and protected the control system here. Now, that one's the closer. This one is the opener, so we want to just switch this one to every input seconds. Pull that right down. There we go. Now, you'll notice there are significantly more missiles in here. We have 4 flares, as we did before, but I've changed the missile setup based on comments that were given to me on a more effective missile design. So what we have here, 3 fins, so very, very agile, can turn very quickly. A variable thruster set to only 1,500. Now this I was really surprised at, as well as the 0 ramp time. I was really surprised with this. 1 fuel tank as usual and a missile interceptor, and the controls are now set to basically engage at about 800 meters rather than 1,200. So I want to set that all the way back up there, and then where are we? Hostile missile closer than 2,000 meters. That's when we want that to kick in. And just to go over very, very briefly the new setup here. This engages when the hostile missile is closer than 800. and this continually tries to turn it off. So these will only fire when there's a missile properly on an approach to this vehicle at this point. Now, back to what we're going to be working on, and it's going to be more missiles today as well. We will be working on the cannon soon, but first I want to get the length of the back, and this is going to be dependent on how many missiles I install, basically the cruise missiles. And I'm thinking of a swarm missile array for close targets. If a ship gets within about 800, maybe 600, then I want swarm missile racks to engage, as well as our ship cannons. But the ship cannons are really there to strike things very far out for high damage. They will be able to engage smaller targets, but if we have the opportunity to use swarm missiles, well, can you really blame me for wanting to? I don't think you can. Or at least I don't think you should. Alright, now, there are a few things that I'm going to have to be building up over here. I'm going to be having a large radar array. Realistically, the radar is not actually going to be doing us much good on this. The Argus is going to be our primary way of looking into the darkness. But for the sake of the looks, we will be having a radar dish up on top, if for no other reason than to give the impression that this ship is communicating with the drones and fighters that it's launching, or perhaps at some later stage when we may possibly build some sort of Akira-esque Sol laser defense satellite, then this ship would be patching into the satellite's weapon systems and designating targets for the laser to fire on. If I do build something like that, it's going to have almost a ridiculously low firing rate. It's going to have a stupendously powerful laser, but for the sort of thematic part of it, it will definitely be firing very slowly. Even though I would be able to make a laser, you know, stupendously powerful and fire quickly, it doesn't really interest me too much. I like the idea that it is some sort of doomsday weapon that takes ages to cool down after firing each burst. Now, out the back, we're going to want a doorway into this corridor, I think. Yes, that's a pretty nice setup there. And then we're going to definitely want 3 different doorways moving forward. Now, these 3 compartments are going to go into different rooms. This one is going to be much, much narrower. I'm looking at building 3 independent weapon systems around here. 2 of them, or rather one of them, will actually be split into 2 separate weapon systems as well. Or rather, it will target in 2 different ways. Now, the plan I've got in mind is to have rotating missile launchers. So we're going to be setting up something very similar to this, but the swarm missile system will be an offensive weapon system. So whereas this is purely defensive, the swarm missile system will be on a spin block in much the same way, but it's going to be an offensive weapon system. So another one of our council AIs is going to have a very special job, and that's going to take up another one of our limited channels for broadcasting weapon data, or rather weapon targets on. Let's fill that out as well. There we go. And over here. There we are. Now I could do something funky in these little areas. Perhaps, well, actually, you know what? Maybe this would be a way down onto the lower deck. I quite like that. I like that enough to even make that a proper feature, which means I need a little bit more room. Okay, let's have some very simple shaped blocks here. And once again, you're getting a real glimpse into the design process with me. And I imagine that's completely dispelling any myth there was that I actually do this in any kind of good way. I just throw ideas together until something works, basically. Now, the cruise missile system is going to be going in the middle area. That's why that's very much open up. That way, we're going to be able to have very tall missiles reaching up from this section. The sides, they will be connected to the cruise missile area, but that's just purely convenience for us. Now, the idea with the connection for the cruise missiles controllers, because two sides of the cruise missiles, we're going to have 4 different rows. Each row is going to have 2 separate sets of missiles attached to it. Now, we've got 4, 8, 9, 10, 14. Oh, we could have 14 long cruise missiles, and I think that's enough. I think we could take it down to the layer below it if we absolutely wanted to. But I'm really not sure that's actually necessary. We certainly don't need to take it all the way down to the bottom deck of this ship. That would be obscene. At most, we could have 4, 8, 12, 14, about almost 20 long missiles if we used all 4 of these decks. But I think we are only going to need 3. So we're going to have an extra deck down the bottom for something else before you get down to the lower deck. So we'll start building that out now. This is where I would like my missile connectors to come up. These will connect to the radar on top of the bridge to allow it to designate targets using lasers. So we're going to have a row of missiles along here that are laser designated, and then 2 rows in the middle which are not. And each row is going to be effectively 2 rows. And I'll show you what I mean. Now, I'll probably be sinking these down into the floor, so all of this is happening on one deck, and we can walk around and it'll look all cool from the inside. But as a quick demonstration, if I position this there, we will have something along the lines of this. Oops, no, that is very much not in the right place. That, then one here. And this way, we're going to have 3 ejectors on each. These are vertically launched missiles, and they're not going to have a lot of speed to them. So I want them to have a good initial ejection velocity. We want to throw them straight up and out of the ship before they start to try turning or anything like that. Then on this side, we will have very similar. So once again, we will have, let's think. Yeah, we could just have the pattern repeated, but on each side. Now, these middle ones are not going to be run by a central AI in the bridge. They're going to have dedicated AIs, and that is, each row is going to have a different one. So we've got 2 rows here. This is going to be a lot of missiles. They will probably be controlled by their own AI, each one as well, so that I can have the cruise missiles choosing different targets. I'll give them slightly different priorities on distance, speed, altitude, things like that, so that hopefully each row goes for something different. These are going to be self-guided missiles. Once they're launched, they'll be told to turn towards the target, and then it'll be up to them to pick their destination. But these ones will be going where the AIs are specifically showing them to go. So that's how we're going to be setting all of this up. And we may as well... I really don't like having these elevated like this because I'm not going to be able to walk around easily, but it's not like I'm going to be able to walk around through the missile blocks themselves anyway. But and we're good. Right, all of the cruise missiles are now sunk in properly and ready to fire at a moment's notice, one would hope. We're going to need... Well, the only issue is I've actually left no room for stairs. Ah, silly me. That was rather derpy of me. I'll hold my hand up and confess to derpitude on that one. That was dumb. I'm going to need to cut back the central cruise missiles quite a lot, I imagine, down here. And a similar amount over there to get the same effect. Either that, or I just allow this door to lead straight down, like a landing. You know what? I think it would be better to do something like this. Actually, how many is that? No, we can do that better like this. There we go. There we are. Right, okay. So we've got a little landing where we can jump down. As I said previously, the thing with this is that we don't actually need to add stairs. They're a little bit derpy most of the time anyway. Our robots can effectively jump enormous distances, so why would we build stairs? That seems like a very, very meatbag requirement. Not for robots, no. Meatbags need stairs. Robots are far superior. No stairs required. And we can have something like this just to make it look a bit nicer. Yes. I think that works out well. It was completely my plan all along. Right, there we go. We can even then shield this a little bit from view, just for the sake of it. And something like this to there. Yeah, I like that. So we would jump down around here. Get us a metal beam. Alright, I like. That worked out fairly well. Actually, let me remove that. I put that in slightly the wrong place. We want that to come down like so. Then a metal beam at the bottom. And then another beam like this right there. There we are. And we'll have this one stretch across there. Okay, there we go. So that's the main way of getting down into this missile compartment. Perhaps we could have the AIs controlling them all set up here, all resplendent, like shiny and chrome, etc., etc. Probably not chrome. You know what? Maybe they should be chrome. We're going to make these missile blocks shiny and chrome. Let's find AI. So we would need 4 AIs here to control these missile systems. That's all these ones are going to be doing, is controlling these very specific missile systems. We'll hook up the missile launch blocks, the actual missile control blocks around to face them properly. And this one will be on the outside once again. There we go. So we're going to need 4 new missile names, because each one is going to be slightly different. I'll probably end up coloring them differently as well, but for the time being, we'll just use different colors of grey. So that one, slightly darker. Darker again. Oh, no, really? Damn it, Mr. Mirror Line, why would you do this to me? I think that one should be there. These are not shiny or chrome. They're just pale. Well, I'll have to look into that. Perhaps you will want different colors anyway. And I kind of like the idea of having the colors be dependent on the person's favorite color who gets the name. So I'm going to need some more suggestions for names. By all means, just post in the comments on this video and I'll just pick at random. Though if you fancy putting in a little story about what your AI is like, I'm not going to pretend it doesn't increase the chances. It does quite a lot, actually. Now, over here we'll have a similar setup for the exit. Right then, here's the cruise missile room. All of these beautiful, beautiful weapons all ready. Now we just need to extend out the control blocks, the missile blocks, out to the point where we can have the missiles being controlled by their respective AIs without too much problem. And they connect up pretty well there. There we go. So we'll be able to give all of these different launch targeting priorities. Launch parameters, I guess you could say. The missile controller will go here for each. I think I'll set these up on... This would be Weapon System 3, I think. We'll set this up as Weapon System 3. In fact, we also need to turn this... Actually, let's hold that down. Turn that up like so. Copy to clipboard. That way we can just go in each one. Copy to clipboard. Clipboard. And finally, clipboard. Oh, look. My AIs came over. The AIs came around to man the missiles. That's fantastic. That's actually glorious in so many ways. Well done, little guys. I wish I could give you all names. Oh, man, this would be a great community ship if all the AIs were named after viewers. Is it possible? No. Is it possible from their spawn points? Let's have a look. Can I give you designations? Ah, Nick, I shall have to ask. That is asking a lot, though, because it's supremely pointless in almost every way for a regular player. But wow, that would be glorious. Okay, so those are all set up. I'll actually set them up with the AIs themselves with non-colored cards left and right on each one. On there, there. And then all we want for these, an aim point selector for the outsides. There we are. And a target prioritization for all of the others. Now, you don't want the aim point selector for the ones that are going to be launching guided, self-guided missiles, because it makes no sense. The self-guided missiles aren't going to care about that. They're just going to go for whatever their camera tells them to go for. Or if you don't include a camera, then just whatever's hottest. Now, I haven't set up the prioritizations, and I'll probably do that off camera. You've seen me do it loads of times. But the last thing I really want to do down here is just finish off this back wall a bit, I guess. we are. So the doors aren't going to go straight out to the side. They're going to go forwards and back along the vehicle, so they can hook up with whatever corridors already exist, perhaps some stairs down. Because I'm thinking that the control points for the side cannons will be fairly low down, because we'll be having vertical rotating cylindrical cannons for our AA. We'll have a lot of these. They'll probably be single turreted or at most double turreted, no gauge, so 0 gauge increases, rapid fire AA guns. We will be firing explosive armor piercing, which is why we need the extra room by having the internals of the cannon lower down. There we go. This should... No, okay, fine. We'll go with this then. Or this even. There we go. Perfect. That actually lined up well. But that will also be pretty nice because we'll be able to have NPCs manning the AA guns. I'm almost tempted to just flat out not have AI doing it. Okay, so now we have a specific room for this little hatchway down to the lower level. That's actually all fine. We'll also bring this out though. I just realized I hadn't finished putting the flooring there. There we go. And one block on the end. There we are. I'll put the doors in as well, just for the sake of keeping everything nice and set up, so I don't have too much work to do off camera. There we go. Right, alright. Now, this little area here marks where the spin block for the turret will actually be. Now, we want this to be about 5 along, so it's going to be able to more or less position wherever I want here. Ideally, you know what? This might actually be good enough. Though it's only 4 deep at that point. But that should be fine. I'm gonna rise it up a little bit more then. I've got a little bit more room for shaping at the top. Right. Now I'm going to include this, obviously, so that people can actually see what I'm doing here. But we're going to want a spin block on either one of these. I may even have a dedicated AI for controlling this, just kind of housed here. So rather than one of the AI council, I might actually have a different AI controlling this. We want the spin block around about here. Precision spin block, of course, pointing out that away. Okay then, the missile system is more or less in position. I'll need to change the way that the missile... Right, we've got, for example, the missile controller here, local weapon controller, an AI wireless receiver on channel 3, a 0.2 second delay between each launch pad, and an identify friend or foe. I'll have to set up the way that this system picks its targets. Perhaps I could set it to minimum range now, actually. If we set it out to a minimum range of, say, yeah, 800. I think that'll be fine. So an 800 range, and that's... Ooh, we'll also want a minimum altitude to engage. I don't really want it to be engaging anything below the surface of the water. So we'll put a minimum altitude of -5. Because even a sub with a minimum altitude of -5, remember, if it hasn't got an origin block, then it's going to be using the center of mass. Unless it's less than 5 thick from top to bottom, then it's still going to be above the water and the missiles will be able to hit it. So setting that up like so should guarantee that we're going to hit something. Now, I am going to have to adjust these walls to accommodate the rotation, and that's going to be true on both sides, which is a little bit of an annoyance, but, well, it's going to just be have to be something that we're going to live with on that one. When this is angled diagonally, it shouldn't overstretch the missiles. I will have to check that out, because if that is the case, we're going to have to seriously reconsider how I'm setting this up. In fact, it might be worth moving some things around to that end right now. There, let's actually set that up. So if I put that there, we've taken away the staggered fire and the identify friend or foe. We'll take those away. We'll actually make this only 3 wide. It'll still be 5 wide once you've added the armor on, but only 3 wide normally, which I'm much happier with. There we go. So that is the main missile compartment. Now I'm going to have these angled up to about 45 degrees when they're ready to launch. That's why I'm not adding in any particular launch pads. They're not going to be shooting straight up, so we don't need the ejectors. They're not going to be shooting straight to the side, though, and so it's going to be at 45 degrees, kind of the mid-range between if it's trying to hit a fire and if it's trying to hit something on the surface. Okay. There we go. Now, I'm curious if this can turn. I'm fairly certain it's not going to be able to, but it's worth having a quick look. So, this one will be set up pretty simply. Range of about, let's say, 5 for the sake of posterity. Delay of 1 minute. 65. Put it down to 60. If there are no enemies within range. If enemy range is greater than 5,000, then control the spin block. We want to set the rotation to anything. I actually don't know what that's going to be, so let's take that right down. Oh, it rotates fine. Oh, wow. So we want this to be 90 then. Oh no, 90's up there, so we want it to be minus 90? There we go. I was not expecting that to work without me having to change the way the walls were. Wow, okay, I'm very happy with that. Okay, right, well, I'm going to put the delay back up to 60 then. Because I don't want that shutting down too quickly. And then this one should be, for the time being, just to get the right angle on it. I want to control spin blocks at a range of 5 instantly. I want to set the rotation to 90 would be up, so 45. So this is how this missile array is going to reorientate itself. We'll actually build up a proper wall around it so that when it's shut down, it's under a reasonable amount of armor. I could have, though saying that, perhaps some of these locations would be nice with some glass, so you're actually looking straight up, but with some armor above it to make it so that a shell would have to land directly down, just come straight down in order to damage the glass, but it might still be nice. But there we go, that actually looks rather funky, I think. And we want this to be set to when enemy is below a range of 1,000, then these, actually no, let's set that to 900. Then these will rotate into position. I'll set up a copy of this weapon on the other side. I will do a load of shaping around them as well, so there's like a domed protective armor over these weapon systems. Not all the way up, obviously, because the back of this is armored, and that's the whole point, is that when it's not being used, it's actually presenting armor to any very long distance foes. But then when it's actually likely to start engaging enemies, it's only then that it actually presents the vulnerable inner workings and the missiles. We'll work on the shape of the armor around this side. And I'm still playing with the idea of glass there. Maybe. I don't know. I kind of like the idea, but it may be a little bit derpy. Or perhaps another exit point. So you could jump straight up and be on kind of like an observation deck right now. Ooh, I like that idea. An observation deck right next to this missile. But here is going to be a much taller dome. through which all of these missiles are going to be shooting through, because they're going to be fairly tall constructs, so we're going to want the walls going up and around them. Yes, I like this. And of course, this is going to have to come up and hook onto the bridge, where it will have its radar system up there. I'll probably build the radar system on camera, but I'll actually get everything in place off camera. Right, well, that's the last part of this build that isn't to do with cannons. The next couple of episodes, or next episode perhaps, depending on how quickly I can get through it, we will have 2 cannons at the front, as I said, 1 large cannon at the very rear, and at that point, the length of this boat, or this battleship rather, will be set. I wanted to get this part done because this is one of the last parts before the rear cannon, and it was a kind of a variable how long I want that to be able to fit the missiles I wanted. But we'll have 1 large cannon at the back, 2 large cannons at the front, and then it'll just be a matter of adding cannons along the side, adding the other functional components to the rest of this. We're probably going to want another large ammo stockpile down here, probably somewhere around this part of the room, I'm thinking, or maybe even towards the middle. And I know that would risk that, or perhaps I'd sink that down and have it on the very lower deck. There's lots of places, because there's at least 1 more deck of about 5 to 8 height below where this currently is. This is turning into rather an enormous craft, but I like it. It's starting to take a shape now. It's actually starting to look like a ship. It kind of. You can see it in your mind's eye. But that's it from me. So I hope you will be joining me in the next episode, and I hope you've enjoyed this one. I warmly welcome any kind of feedback you may have for me on where the build is going. But until next time, and as always, do take care.